What's up, internet friends, founders, and the Entrepreneur Curious? You've made it, and you're here. It's Venture Daily with me, Peter Saddington. What's up, guys? I hope you are having a wonderful Friday. Smash the Lizzie like button, guys. Smash it. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. I'm a little disheveled because I just got out of the shower. Got my gym in early today because I have a lot to do. Got a lot to do on this Friday. We've got a lot to do today. One of the things I got to do is get a haircut. So that's important. That's an important thing. Got to do lots of research on some interviewees that I'm going to be interviewing this next week. Super excited about that. And the ball keeps moving forward. I got some feedback over yesterday. Yes, yesterday. Guys, every day kind of bleeds the same. I got some feedback yesterday about the new format, and it was really encouraging. People are liking it, so we're going to stick to it. And if you're wondering on this Friday, what is this new format? What is going on here? Well, simply put, I'm going to be covering a couple of news bits every day. And what I'm going to be giving to you guys is my founder perspective, the perspective on these articles from a founder, from an entrepreneur, so that we can extract some of the lessons from these news articles that hopefully can help you in your grind, in your project, or whatever you're endeavoring on. See, that's the goal. Because I want to help founders. I want to help entrepreneurs and what I like to call the Entrepreneur Curious out there. People are thinking about removing themselves from the regular standard, stereotypical 9-to-5, and building something of their own. And so that's the new format, as well as the final word on every daily show, where I just talk about what's going on in the community or what's going on in my work building the next generation of venture fund. And so that's the new format. So I hope that you guys like it. Today, in today's show, we're going to be covering two articles that I didn't read, and that's kind of how I like it. I kind of like scanning them. And not really going deep into them and just reading them first with you guys and just doing my color commentary. So the first one we're going to be covering today, guys, is the 7 hardest things about being an entrepreneur that this author didn't know about. And the second article, which I found fascinating, and I actually spent some time thinking about this. I didn't read the full article, but the article is called "It's Okay to Cry at Work." So the question you have to ask yourself is, or at least the question I asked myself when I was going through this is, do I cry? Have I cried at work? And I'll let you guys know the answer to that as we get through the article. In today's final word, I'm going to be talking about the feeling of success after lots and lots of work. So hopefully it'll be encouraging to you guys today. In today's Venture Daily, it's Friday after all. We're almost there, guys. We're almost to the weekend. So the 7 hardest things about being an entrepreneur that you never expected. There are certain traits that define an individual's propensity for entrepreneurship. They're hugely resilient, they're awesome at networking, and they're great communicators. You know what? I kind of like this. Resilient, networking, communicators. Pretty much everything that I'm doing right now, guys, as I'm embarking on building my own venture fund. And they have the unwavering confidence that they will eventually be successful if they just keep going. You know what? That is the truth. Actually, that's pretty much what I want to talk about with you guys on today's final word at the end of the show. You just got to keep going, guys. Whether you were born to start your own business or determined to learn the entrepreneurial ropes, there is a lot of unexpected challenges that even the most experienced entrepreneurs couldn't have anticipated when they first started. And certainly, I'll tell you guys in my pretty much everything that I've experienced in life, every big surprise in life has been through the lens of entrepreneurship, because you're executing against the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen. This particular author, he said he was fortunate enough to have been born into a hard-working family, which allowed him to be more vigilant about the pitfalls that typically come your way as you start and grow a business. His journey through entrepreneurship wasn't easy or simple, but he can truly say that the challenges he didn't expect, those that come out of left field, were the ones that were the hardest to address. So don't let the following catch you off guard. First and foremost, training and delegation. For anyone out there who's an entrepreneur, you might want to listen in, especially if you've hired people. Training and delegation, probably pretty important. Entrepreneurs build their business from the ground up, so it's very likely that you have a lot more than just money invested in your business venture. You've dedicated a lot of time to growing your company, which means you're emotionally invested in it. While that's a good thing, it also makes it very hard to delegate tasks. But it's faster if I do it myself, you say. That's true. I always like to say this as well, guys, that you go faster alone, but you go farther together. Let me say that again. You go faster alone, I would know, but you go farther together. But before you know it, guys, you're piling too much on your plate. You're unable to get the things done efficiently. You're rushing to get things done, missing deadlines, or constantly making mistakes and end up feeling burnt out. I will tell you guys that this is one of my biggest struggles in life, period. One of my biggest struggles in life is that I have a high propensity to burn myself out because I just like working. And the problem is sometimes is that I prefer and choose work over actually getting rest. And so I hope that many of you guys, the founders and the entrepreneurs out there, that you don't do this. You get rest. It's very hard to entrust a business you've poured your heart and soul into someone else's hands. But it's something you must learn to do if you want your business to thrive in the early stages or grow and thrive. He always says, delegate or stay small. If you feed them for a day, you'll end up feeding them forever. Or teach them to fish and they'll feed themselves. So even if it seems like it'll take you 3 times longer to train a team member to complete a task versus you just picking up the slack yourself, your team has to learn. As your business grows, you'll see this investment pay off. Leverage your strength. Leverage your strength. That's right, guys. Well, I will say that when it comes to delegating, I'm actually quite good at it after we have an idea worth scaling, after we have enough of a foundation to support or investment capital to support. I don't mind handing off. Actually, many of you guys might remember this. From my last startup, I was the founder, the sole founder. I built it for 9 months, and then I got venture funding. We bootstrapped it for a while, and then I hired a team, and then I hired a CEO. I hired an ops director, and I took a back seat. Like, I don't have a problem when we have time to scale, but I will tell you, it's a fine balance. It's a fine balance when it comes to going faster alone and figuring out when the right time to scale is. If you have any tips out there for all you entrepreneurs, let me know in the comments below. So another thing that you'll want to do is leverage your strengths. You'll wear many hats as an entrepreneur. Resist the urge to be the jack of all trades, master of none. Learn your strengths, focus on them, and develop them. Entrepreneurs are usually skilled in 1 or 2 of the pillars within a typical business plan. That's already a huge advantage itself. Instead of focusing on the things you cannot do, put your energy on the things that you can do. That will contribute a lot more to your business growth. Then, as we just covered, delegate the rest. Well, I will tell you, it is absolutely imperative that as you get to a point of scale in a company, you have to focus on your strengths. And that's one of the reasons why I hired a CEO. It's one of the reasons why I got an ops director, because while I can do those things in the early stages, they're not my strengths. And actually, even more so, it's not what I enjoy doing. I enjoy building. I enjoy being out with the community, connecting with people, having great conversations. And I hate being only internal into the company. Like, someone else can do that. I like being part of the outreach. Does that make sense? And so as you scale your company, make sure that you focus on your strengths and delegate and give away roles to people that can do them better than you. The third thing here is have conversations that matter. Well, Having that difficult conversation now is better than brushing things under the rug in the interest of maintaining the peace or not ruffling any feathers. I don't have a problem with that. This goes for an aspect of running a business, from an employee's poor performance to a supplier not meeting your standards. Having those awkward conversations early and often. If your arm is infected, cut it off before it infects the rest of your body. I don't know if that's what Jesus said. What did he say? I know it's hard to let off your tenured team member who has not been performing, but look at the bigger picture. How will it affect your team and your company's long-term goals if you'll allow it to continue? I can say so much here. To the infected arm and having those awkward conversations. I will tell you, one of the things that has been one of the hardest for me to continually do well is to trust my gut when something's wrong in my company, if something's wrong in my project. You know, you kind of brush these gut feelings off sometimes, like, oh, he's not a right fit, or oh, she's not a right fit, or it's not working out, or we're not seeing the value that we assumed we would see out of this individual. And my thing in the past has been to kind of kick that can down the road and not have that conversation and assume improperly that it would just figure itself out. You see, when it comes to a startup, when it comes to any type of new project like a startup, time is of the essence. You have to have those conversations early and often. Maybe you don't, and it doesn't have to be directing. It can be merely asking the question of, hey, do you have what you need? Do you have what you want? Do you have what you need to be effective? Are we missing something here? Can I help clarify something? These are the types of questions that I constantly ask when I trust my gut. If I ignore my gut, then I allow that issue, that personnel issue, to be kick that can down the road, and the issue only gets bigger. It only gets bigger. Steel yourself, okay? Steel yourself, gird thyself, and have those conversations earlier. Yes, they're going to be awkward. Yes, you're going to fumble through the conversation. Yes, because it's a gut feeling maybe, and you don't fully know how to articulate that idea. That's fine. Have those conversations early, and I trust me, you will save yourself tons of time, mental anguish, emotional nonsense, and money. Money, for sure. The fourth thing here is scale for success. The team that you start out with may not be the team that leads you to the fourth and fifth iteration of your business plan. Does it seem like a hard pill to swallow? It is. It is a jagged little pill, isn't it? Loyalty and dedicated team members are hard to come by, but a loyal and dedicated employee who can't get the work done will be an albatross for your high-performing team members. Perhaps these individuals don't have the skill sets needed to effectively scale your company, or maybe they need additional training and knowledge to reach your new goals. Whatever the case, approach your growth realistically. Know that while loyalty is important, there will be instances that you need to make a change for the long-term health of your business. I can concur 100% here, guys. One of the toughest things for me is to fire people. I hate it. It's terrible. It's terrible.
No, God! No, God!
Seriously.
Please, no!
Seriously.
No!
Nope.
One of the worst parts about being an entrepreneur, the worst parts about scaling a business, is firing people. It took me, I'll give you one example. In my first startup, this was a decade ago. In my first startup, I hired essentially an ops individual. Great person, just a beautiful person, great personality. It was just great with people. The problem is that she wasn't good at doing certain organizational things that I needed her to do. I was young, I had employed her, and it's not that I was sold a bill of goods, it's just I didn't know what questions to ask to make sure that she was exactly the right fit for what I needed. And I'll tell you, I kicked that can down the road for over 6 months. And Lord Jesus, I can tell you, how much money I burned, how many stressful nights that I had wondering, like, is it going to work out? Is she going to figure it out? Should I talk to her now? Like, dude, totally over that. If someone's underperforming, let's be intellectually, I know it sounds harsh, I know it sounds terse, but if you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, you need to make those calls. Yeah, it's going to feel like you're burning a bridge. Yeah, it's going to feel like you're going to be hurting someone's feelings. Yeah, you're going to take on the ideas of, hey, if I fire them, then they're not going to be able to take care of their spouse or their kids. Guys, they knew the terms of engagement. They knew that they were working with a new startup, maybe a venture-funded startup. Nothing's secure, nothing's guaranteed. And sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for them, because they're weighing your company down, and letting them go free allows them to go on and move on to the next opportunity that could be a better fit for them. And so fire, and fire fast. Just do it. You'll grow a tough skin. And for many of you guys, you just need to learn this. But man, please, if you're learning from me, you're listening to me, fire fast. Don't kick that can down the road, man. You're just going to burn money, time, and emotions that you don't need to burn. Next one up is pay yourself first. This is probably the opposite of what every other entrepreneur would advise. Common entrepreneurial knowledge says that you have to put everything back into your company in order to grow it to the next level. However, this author disagrees. When you start gaining good financial footing, you have to pay yourself first. Otherwise, you won't remain motivated to keep you going. I'm gonna dice this a little bit. I would say that certainly you have to pay yourself, and I've talked about this many times. Some of you guys might remember, is that I believe in a very powerful adage, and it goes like this: man should earn a wage. Man should earn a wage for the good and hard work that they do, lest they despise those that they serve. I say this over and over again, and you have to understand the context. As an entrepreneur, in many ways, the difference between an entrepreneur and a salaried employee, or your regular FTE employee, is that an entrepreneur is willing to work for free, okay? An entrepreneur is willing to work for free to discover product market fit, discover how to build the product best, to get feedback and improve the idea. They're willing to learn, spend that time networking, garnering a quick education, being self-learners, and so much of that is being able to work for free. However, when you get to the point of traction, when you grow a community enough where you can monetize the community in the right way, then certainly you need to pay yourself, because if you don't pay yourself, you will end up despising those that you serve. I think it is not only fair, but it is right for entrepreneurs to be paid first. At the same time, I think it's important to be considerate of your employees, be considerate of those around you. And so I think there's a win-win here. You can get paid first, but also don't focus solely on just the internals of the company. Look outside. Look out to those who have helped you and pay them back as well. It goes a long way, especially when you're congratulating and thanking your network and those that helped you get to where you are today. Time. That's the last one here. Time is finite. It's your most important resource. It's limited for a lot of entrepreneurs. Time is truly money, and make sure you treat it accordingly. Time isn't the only thing we can't get back and make more of, so plan your days and don't be careless with your time. Get your victories early in the day and map out your days, hours, and minutes. Get out of the weeds. It's hard not to get immersed in the day-to-day complexities of running a business. Focusing on the details are important, no doubt, but it can be very overwhelming. Therefore, don't let yourself get bogged down by all the details. Make time to stop and breathe before you continue ticking off things in your to-do list. Remember to keep your big picture goals in mind. Absolutely, I completely agree with this. If you are an entrepreneur, knock out the required things every day on your list. You guys might remember from a previous podcast that every night before I go to bed, I review the next day's work, usually with my wife while lying in bed, because we talk about what's going on next, because I got kids, we got school, we got activities, volunteer things, karting, races, we got work, we got this new project that I'm working on, building a venture fund. There's so much going on. And so what I do before I go to bed every night is I discuss with my spouse, the Booins, I discuss with her, guys, what's coming up next so that I can mentally set myself for the day, for the next day. And so for me, it's always about knocking out the stuff that's required, creating content, writing a chapter in my book, getting to emails, making those connections, making sure that I'm setting up, the interviews coming up. These are the things that I'm building right now, but they're going to shift. Regardless, though, I always want to get the biggest priorities done every day so I can feel like I've won. This is a big deal, guys. I think that type of momentum of feeling like, okay, I finished a big rock today goes a long way. I know. You want to procrastinate. You don't want to do the big thing, but trust me, sit down in front of it. Here's a pro tip, guys. Pro tip from a pro entrepreneur, pro curious individual. Take it from me, guys. Getting that win in is success for the day. That's my 1%. And sitting down, and I have to do this. Don't be deceived here. I'm just like you guys. I want to be lazy. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to have to get up and work for free because I've basically been working for free for the last couple years, right? So it's hard to motivate yourself. But what I do, and this is how I get the big rocks done, is I sit down in front of my work. I just sit there, and I don't leave. I don't get up. And I mean, for me, sitting down, it's right here, right? But I sit down and I sit there until my hand moves and I get to work. Sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. Last but not least, guys, network. Clearly, if you want to be a good entrepreneur, you got to network. Well, networked entrepreneurs is an asset. You're only as good as the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Build your network, but be selective of the company you keep. These are the individuals you will learn the most from, who will be your sounding board, who will give you advice. Surrounding yourself with the right people matters more than you think. These are the challenges that this author thinks and wishes he knew that he expected when he started his entrepreneurial journey. If you're just starting yours, he hopes that this advice will serve you well. Well, I think this advice was nice. It was nice to be able to kind of functionally decompose this advice with my founder color commentary. This last part, networking, guys, if you haven't seen the meta, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of just being honest about what I'm doing. I'm building a venture fund. And I'm glad that I finally moved this daily show, just to me talking more about the inner workings and the inner nuances of what I'm doing. And I really like that. I think this is really healthy for me to be able to just talk about what I'm doing plainly. So, I'm building a venture fund. And if you haven't noticed, one of the ways that I'm building this venture fund is I am interviewing successful venture capitalists. It's been more than a master class. And what's great is it's free. They show up because they know that I have a loud microphone and I syndicate worldwide, and they want to get their face in front of others, maybe for deal flow, maybe for notoriety, maybe for feel good, maybe because they kind of sort of like me. I don't know the reasons why they sit down and talk with me, to be quite frank. I don't know the reasons why they do. What I do know is that I've been intentional, and that I've reached out to them and asked them if they want to come on my show and have a good time. And I'd love to ask them questions about their experience. And if they're willing to help, if they're willing to come on, then that's great. We both win. But don't be deceived here, guys. I'm learning from people who've already been or are currently venture capitalists, because that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. I want to deploy capital to great founders, to great people with great ideas. I want to go bigger than just being a YouTube personality and an entrepreneur who's gotten lucky on a couple of startups, right? And, there's hard work ethic behind it, but let's be honest, I'm pretty much a nobody. Yeah, I've gotten some wins under my belt, and I've done pretty okay in life, but I'm relatively a nobody. And so for me, networking, guys, absolutely crucial. You want to be successful, you want to get to that place that exists because there are already people there, then you got to start talking to those people. I hope this article was helpful, guys, and my color commentary. Let's get into this next article, which is all about crying. crying at work. Is this a real thing? Is this a real thing? Let's get into it, guys. We'll do a drum roll. We'll do a drum roll as we go into the next news. Here we go. It's okay to cry at work. Everyone else does it. This is by Suzanne Lucas. And let's just see what she has to say. I've cried at work. Twice. The first time I was a temp in my very first HR job. The position was supposed to be a temp to perm, a term I now despise. And I was doing what I thought was a great job. But the company eliminated a senior administrative assistant's role, and rather than fire her, they got rid of the temp. That was right and fair, and exactly what they should have done. But when my boss told me, I cried. I needed a job. I was 6 months out of graduate school, and finding a professional job had been difficult. My boss helped me get the next position, but it turned out to be an excellent path for me. But in the moment, I went to the bathroom and cried. There's a lot of things that I could pick apart here, and of course I don't know any of the realities, but she said that she needed a job. Not to say that that's a wrong mentality, but it's a very typical mentality that people, they get stressed because they need a job. And you know, if you're listening to me, hopefully you're a founder, or you're the entrepreneur curious, or you're an entrepreneur, or someone who wants to create a hustle. You see, the difference between you and Suzanne here, the difference between you and Suzanne is you don't need a job, because you don't want a job. You want to build for your own. You want to create your own road. You want to create your own path. And because Suzanne comes from a mentality of, hey, I need a job because I need it from someone else, maybe that's where the stress comes from. And maybe that's why she cried. I don't know. I sound heartless here, but, well, we'll see. The second time I cried at work, I was pregnant with my monster-sized baby, 10 pounds, 8 ounces, 23 inches, thank you very much. And he decided he would like to hang out in my sciatic nerve. If you've been through this, then you know that walking can be quite painful. Okay, so she's dealing with a lot of emotional stress, baby stress. I get it. Our building was huge, and the parking situation was a disaster. If you didn't get there at 7 a.m., you didn't get a decent parking spot unless you had the coveted parking pass reserved for executives and people with health issues. I couldn't get there at 7 a.m. because I had another child that needed to get to daycare. Wow, what a busy life this lady led. My doctor wrote a note saying I needed a close parking space, although I didn't qualify for a handicap spot. I faxed this note to the company's nurse office. I needed her stamp of approval for a parking spot. She called me up and said, "Pregnant women need to walk." No amount of pleading would have made her budge. But she never met me, never examined me, but decided in her infinite wisdom that my doctor was wrong and walking would just be the trick. I sat in my office and sobbed, in pain, and flooded in pregnancy hormones. So, this woman has cried twice at work. And the first time is because she just graduated from graduate school, and she probably had a shit ton of debt. She has a mentality of being an employee, not an employer or an entrepreneur, and so she needs someone to give her money, and she needs someone to provide her for a job, and so that's the first time she cried. The second time she cried, she was dealing with what I have 2 kids, so I get it, the emotional hormones of having a child, and also having to take care of a younger child, and also have to work. Welcome to current America. The current normalization of that both parents have to work to survive. This was not the case centuries ago. But now we live in a world where both parents have to work, and the family is even harder to manage than ever before. It's no wonder she cried. I totally understand it. Fortunately for me, but not for the office nurse, I was in labor and employment law consultant at the moment. My boss's boss, the head of HR legal, heard me sobbing, called the nurse's boss, and explained that just ignoring an employee's doctor recommendation was not wise. I got my parking pass. Ooh. Sounds like she won. So why does she share these stories? because so many people think that they need to be superhuman and not get upset or be hurt or just plain sad at work. Would I preferred if I hadn't sobbed when I lost my job? You bet. Am I glad that I cried when the nurse denied my parking pass? You bet. Because crying, in the particular this example, crying ensures that you get what you want. Just kidding.
Nope.
Do I feel bad for the other pregnant women whom the nurse refused parking and who didn't work in employment law? Yes. So when this tweet appeared in my feed, I did as I instructed and retweeted. If y'all have ever cried at your job or school in the bathroom, can you retweet this? I want to see something. So that's what she tweeted. So many people have cried at work. As of this instant, 68.9 thousand people have retweeted. Wow. And while Twitter should never be taken as scientific proof of anything, it does indicate that if you cried at work, you're in excellent company. 68,000 people doesn't seem like it's a good representation of the overall swath of the entire working force today. Not that I know anything about data science. I just got 2 masters in it. This response in particular made me want to cry at work today. Wow, Suzanne, kind of emotional. Working at high school? Yeah, sometimes things are just too heavy, like seeing school shooting reported on CNN. Well, that's fake news. 2 minutes before 30 kids walk in your class, you need to pretend pre-calculus is important. Yeah, that's just fake news. While all of these anecdotes, I just don't know where this article is going, guys. While all of these anecdotes, a recent study found that 83% of us have cried at work. So if you need to go cry, go ahead. It can be a bit embarrassing, but chances are most people in the room have done it before, and will do so again. Well, Suzanne, I don't know what to make of this article. I thought this article was interesting. I will tell you that you guys want to know? You guys want to know if I've cried at work? You want to know if Peter has cried at work? The answer is yes. I have cried at work many, many times, and the reason I can say this is that I have cried here, in this office, in this spot, usually down there in my favorite seat of all time, because this is my work. This is my hovel. This is my dorm. This is where I live and breathe and work. And so have I cried at work? Yes. Have I ever cried at an office building with other employees, contractors, and consultants? No, I've never done that because I haven't been in those types of positions in over 2 decades. And when I was a corporate employee, I never cried. I never cried at work, though sometimes I will admit when I was a corporate employee, sometimes I took an hour and a half lunches. So I guess I was, I don't know. Any of you guys out there ever take an hour and a half lunch when you should only be taking 55 minutes? But I don't mind admitting the fact that I've cried here at work. And the reason is because startups are stressful. Things don't go your way. The deal doesn't go that way. The venture capitalist who promised to anchor your round pulls out last minute and gives you no good reason. And you've slaved for months, years working on things. You had high expectations, which is your fault mostly, and you built yourself up to something that didn't work out. Yeah, have I cried? Yeah, have I had my entire heart ripped out in front of me? Have I had terrible moments in startup life? Have I been fired from my own startup before? Absolutely. All of these have happened. So yeah, have I cried at work? Absolutely. But there was no one around to see. So maybe, just maybe, I guess I'm more like that 68,000 people who should retweet it and say, yes, I have cried at work, but I haven't cried in a corporate office. Let's put it that way. Let me know in the thoughts below, your comments. Have you cried at work? Have you cried in a corporate office? Or are you just like me, an entrepreneur or founder who cries at home, which is really just work?
Did you know that there's even more value than just audio or video? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at VC Hunting, and make sure to sign up for the VC Hunting newsletter, where you'll be able to get weekly news on venture capital, startups, founder stories, and the occasional wisdom extracted from Peter's brain. Go to vchunting.com to sign up. And now, back to the episode.
So in today's final word for founders and my community, our community here, yesterday I was meditating on something that I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He just turned 58 years old, and he kind of considers me like a son, mostly because his son is younger than me, and we're friends. So anyway, he just turned 58 years old, and he was telling me about his career and his life. And he was talking to me about how he just went through an entire battery of examinations, understanding his health, his cardiovascular system, all the stuff that I need to be doing as I'm getting into my late 50s, which I'm obviously not there yet. Just started the 40-year-old stuff like colonoscopy, endoscopy, these types of things. I know that might be TMI, guys. But you know what? You're supposed to get those things when you get closer to 40, 45. Anyway. But he was telling me about all of this stuff. And one of the questions I asked him, I said, hey, how is your perspective? Because I love asking these types of questions to older dudes because they always have great stories and there's always something that you can learn from them. But I asked him, I said, how has your perspective changed over the value and purpose of work? And maybe it was just because of the moment in time and when I was just thinking about what I'm building, right? This venture fund and I'm blazing into the unknown, right? I don't know what it means to operate or direct a venture fund because I never have, but I'm getting a great education quickly from all the people that I'm interviewing. And so maybe I was just in a moment of like, tell me, is the grind worth it? Maybe that was the context behind it. I know the grind's worth it because I grind every day. But I asked him, I said, how has your perspective changed on the value and the purpose of work? And what's really interesting, and maybe it was just because of the context of this recent battery of examinations and trying to figure out his health and make sure that he can live long, is he told me, he said, you know what? I love the way he said this. He said, I wake up every day loving life. And I looked at him and I kind of tilted my head a little bit and because I wanted more information. And he said, I wake up and I'm here for my son, for my grandson, for my wife, to hang out with you guys. He also carts with us on Saturdays and Sundays. So he was telling me how all of his other colleagues who are in their early 60s and things like that would never be seen out on a karting track because it would kill them. They're just weaklings, he said, because they've lived terrible, unhealthy lives for years, and going out on a kart track probably wouldn't work out. And so he was talking about like how important it is for him to wake up every day and just love life and to pour himself into his family. Now, it wasn't exactly the answer that I wanted because I'm asking him about work and the purpose of work. But the way that he answered it he didn't answer the question, but he satiated me in his answer. And what I realized then, and I hope this is encouraging for you guys today, what I realized when I was talking with him is that his perspective is the right perspective. At the end of the day, I should be extremely happy to be alive, to be blessed, to have this opportunity to talk to you guys, even though our community is small. And I'm not changing the world. I'm not saving the world here. But the purpose of work and the purpose of what we do is to allow us in many ways to enjoy life better. It's not to say that you can't enjoy life where you are, but working hard, and this is how I interpret it, working hard can avail you the opportunity to have an even fuller life. You see, if you think you're happy now, it's not that you can't be happier, it's not that you can't be less happy. Certainly that's possible. But when I was talking with him and I was looking at him and he was saying this stuff to me, I was thinking, man, he's done it right. He's created a work-life balance. He's chosen a career that maybe he's not exactly extremely excited about. But at that point, it doesn't matter because it's taken a back seat. The work has become a mechanism for him to be able to show up and have the time that he needs for his kids, his spouse, and life. And you know what? When you're getting close to 60 like he is, it's pretty much all that matters. I was flipping through Instagram, which I don't spend too much time on, but sometimes I flip through the search and just random stuff comes up. And there were some pictures on Instagram of these old ladies, and they had they were all holding a board, and they had their name, their age, they were all in their like late 80s, 90s, and life lessons. So name, age, and life lesson, and you swipe through and see all these life lessons. But of all these, I think there's 5 or 6 of these old ladies on this collage thing on Instagram. Every single one of them, what do you think they wrote down as a life lesson, right? Spend more time. Spend more time with friends. Focus on happiness and love. Focus on health. Like, none of it was about work. It was all about relationships. And so my challenge for you guys today, as you're grinding away, as you're working towards a future goal, a project, or some endeavor, whether you're a founder, an operator, entrepreneur, or just the Entree Pro Curious, if you're out there, guys, enjoy the work that you do. Enjoy the grind that you have so that it can make your relationships even better. And that's today's final word. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys, on this Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. You guys know where I'll be. I'll be on the tweeters. You can check me out on @AgilePeter and on Instagram, on my son's Instagram, @Saddington Racing, if you want to see where I'll be this weekend. Because you know I'm going to be at the kart track because my son's going to be a Formula One driver, just like Sebastian Vettel for Ferrari. Didn't you know? No. That's the hope, at least. Have a great one, my friends, and we'll see you Monday.